I'm Kat.
And I'm Hayley.
And this is Night Classy,
A tipsy night class teaching the oddities and curiosities you never learned in school.
What are we drinking for this learning journey, Hayley?
Wine, 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 wine.
Hell yeah.
Everybody.
We have two boxes of wine today.
And it's not enough.
It's never going to be enough.
It's never going to be enough.
No.
The limit does not exist. Your wine looks good. I have to try a little Shiraz.
It's the Trader Joe's boxed wine. Hayley, the Trader Joe's boxed wine is $12.
What?
Yeah. Can you believe? So now, obviously, that's all I'm going to buy, and it tastes the exact same as the other one.
I just want to live at Trader Joe's.
Me too.
All the time.
Alec and I, we decided that we're going to be Sunday Trader Joe's people, and we've started going to Trader Joe's every Sunday.
What time? Because I feel like that sounds insane.
It's definitely packed, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, you guys do give Trader Joe's on Sunday vibes.
Yeah.
I think that is accurate. I think you're really coming into who you are as a couple and individuals.
We've really aged a lot over the past couple of years.
So much.
Now, our big excitement is going to Trader Joe's, having dinner with his parents, and that's about all we do on weekends, isn't it? Yeah.
Tommy and I get excited for Costco, so I get it.
Yeah,
it's just, I don't know what it is.
It's just so good. Grocery shopping is fun at a nice grocery store that's not fucking Midtown Kroger.
Yep. Don't get us started on Midtown Kroger. We will. It's just all bleep beep. Alec just bleeps it out.
We should. And I brought an Oktoberfest beer that I probably won't drink, but I thought I should at least bring it.
Because you surely are not bringing it anywhere else. I'll say that right now.
For some reason, and I don't know why we started this, but we do an Oktoberfest episode every year. Have we done two or one?
Every single year we've done Oktoberfest German-themed lessons.
So this is the third one.
This is the third?
This is the third one. And it started because we were fresh friends. Had been friends for like a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Spirit Halloween and we saw these dirndls.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, am I really about to spend $55 on a cheap-ass dirndl? And we were like, yes, because we were going to an Oktoberfest later that day.
We were so young and full of life. I would never do that
excited.
now.
I know.
I would never wear a slutty Halloween dirndl to Oktoberfest at Wiseacre.
Really? I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah, maybe I would, but I don't think I'd pay $55 for one again.
I would not pay $55. And I kind of wanted to wear a turtleneck underneath this one and like put some tights on. I was like, that, a little fall vibey, comfortable,
Yeah, a little warm.
Tommy showed me a meme the other day that was like, you've officially aged out of the 18 to 24 age bracket. And I think that's where I'm at now. It's like, I'm still going to wear the slutty outfits, but I'm going to have something warm underneath it.
Yeah, it's a matter of practicality. You have to be comfortable. And I'm not wearing mine because I tore apart my house and couldn't find it.
A bitch.
I'm a bitch. But if I were going to wear it, I was planning on cutting off the sleeves because they're really tight on your arms and very uncomfortable. And I didn't want to be uncomfy.
Yes. You never want to be uncomfy.
Yeah.
At all. That's where it's like, that's the main concern for me at this point in my life is like, I want to be cute, but comfort is like forefront in my mind right now.
Oh, I know. I literally dress like a grandma. I have elastic waistband trousers, but they're made out of like athletic material.
And you got, like 20
so they're
colors.
comfy, and I got them in every color. And every single day to work, I wear those sneakers, a t-shirt, and a cardigan every day.
I love
and
it.
It's my old lady uniform.
It sounds like your Trader Joe's uniform too is what it probably should be.
I wear it to Trader Joe's too. I no longer really differentiate between weekend clothes and work clothes. I pretty much dress like a grandma all the time. It's the best.
And even though I've had COVID, this is how it's been. But I was doing my laundry and folding it and I'm putting it away and I'm like, this is all leisure wear. Like it's maybe some leggings, sweatpants, t-shirts. That's it.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. I don't have it. Yeah,
we're fun.
It's really embarrassing. We're so fun. But I did wear my grandma Halloween vest, my knitted Halloween vest. I thought maybe that would make up for me not wearing the dirndl.
I wish it was enough to save the friendship. It's not.
Sorry.
I have the last episode, everyone.
I have a real dirndl from Germany, but it's at my parents' house, and maybe I'll have my mom. She's sending me a box soon. I'll have her send it, and then I'll wear a dirndl, and then you don't have to, and then we can get even.
That's not the point. It's not about getting even, Kat. It's about doing something together.
Sorry, I lost it.
I'm about to lose it.
But yeah, happy Oktoberfest, everyone. We're kicking off the fall season.
I think this is actually also the first time that we've done our Oktoberfest in September.
Oh, really? We forget
every
year?
I think we forget every year. We're like, it's October. We have to do our Oktoberfest.
Okay, well, I'm glad we remembered. And I love themed episodes because it makes picking a topic so much easier
and so fun. Yes, it gives you some direction.
Yeah, I need direction in my life. When I'm just left alone to pick any topic in the world, I sit on the internet all day and stress.
Yes, it's so stressful, but we did it. We made it.
We did it.
Speaking of choosing topics, I'm really excited. We have some new patrons to shout out. So I want to do that before we get too far into this thing, because one of them is a night cat. That is the level. I know, a little night cat action where you get to pick your topic for us to cover. So you make it really easy on us. And if there's a topic that we haven't done yet, which that's pretty much like an infinite amount of topics that you want to hear, then you get to do that. So I'd like to welcome our newest night cat, Carrie Harger from Kalamazoo, Michigan.
Kalamazoo, name a better town name.
The most fun name.
So fun.
And she even said specifically, like, I'm from Lansing, but I've lived in Kalamazoo for 7 years. I'm like, you're from Kalamazoo.
If I lived anywhere near Kalamazoo, I would be from Kalamazoo.
Yes. She's a first-year teacher.
Wow. God bless.
Your soul. She teaches middle and high school band, choir, and music appreciation.
Oh my God. How?
And when she said, I've almost quit so many times, I said, I know.
Yeah, I would quit too. That is way too much for them to put on you. I'm sorry.
First-year teacher.
Yeah, that is not fair. Carrie, I hope you're happy, but
bless your
better
heart.
Jobs are out there. That sounds like way too much.
I hope you find solace in listening to us and knowing that we feel your pain.
Yeah, you sound like you're in a lot of pain. I'm sorry. I'm like really hammering into Carrie, but like 3 subjects and middle school and high school.
Just the whole
That's a lot.
Smattering of kids and ages. Ugh.
But sorry, Carrie.
Carrie, let us know. She's going to get back to us on her topic of choice.
Okay.
So welcome, Carrie.
Welcome. And I also want to shout out Rachel Panak from Richmond, Virginia. She's not a teacher, but she's a nurse. And I feel like teachers and nurses have a spiritual connection. I feel like we're similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously, because it's like you have to be both at each job. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. And I feel like it's just like similar vibes. Like you work really hard. Sometimes you're a little underappreciated.
You cry.
You're in a nurturing role. You cry.
It's dangerous.
It's all the things. So keep doing you, Rachel. Thank you for becoming a Patreon. And if you are a Patreon, you can hear our most recent Patreon episodes. We recorded those recently. We did a list bitch and we recorded a trivia and we're recording another trivia tonight.
Because we love you, hoes.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
We want to give you the world.
Also, I realized something so dumb. I've been calling list bitch list bitches for no reason. And it makes it sound so lame when you put the plural on it. And I don't know why. I literally had it. You know how I have templates for everything I do? It was like list bitches. And I'm like, ugh.
The logo says list bitches.
It does?
Yeah, I think it's both. I don't know if we ever like really decided on one.
Well, it needs to be list bitch because that sounds better to me.
Okay. I mean, they sound kind of the same to me, which is why I never noticed. But
once I noticed it, I can't unnotice it.
List bitch. But there are 2 of us, so maybe it is list bitches.
But only one of us can be a list bitch at a time.
That's true.
So
list
it's like
bitch.
We passed the listicle. We're 2
tickle my listicle. I'll give you a bitch-tickle.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I don't think I have anything else besides the fact that my students this year again found my podcast this weekend. So shout out, and the obligatory, this is not for you to listen to.
Hop off.
Bye.
How did you find out? Did they comment on something?
Yeah, they said, Miss Barnhart, I listen to your podcast. And I said, I don't talk about my podcast at school. Go away.
Yeah, that's like the scariest you have to be in that moment.
Yeah, I'm not going to engage about it at work.
Yeah,
it's not.
It's a hard line.
It's a hard line that I'm going to draw.
I love that for you. I learned something new this weekend. I learned, okay, let me tell a little story. Okay. So I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking, and I hear Safety go into the litter box, and then he starts howling. Cat. He's
what?
Like, ow! And Tommy and I both rush and look, and we're looking at him, and he's looking at us like, "Aren't you gonna help me?" And he's trying to use it so much, and he's like howling, and I'm like, he's constipated, and he's looking at us like, "Help me!"
Oh no!
So I Googled it, and if your cat's constipated, you just have to give them some pumpkin. So
that is so cute. So are you gonna make him like a little pumpkin latte for cats?
Well, we just got canned pumpkin, and now Girly really wants it because Safty's having it. Yeah. But if they're not constipated, it gives them diarrhea.
Oh,
so we're just risking it and giving them both.
They're gonna have cat shit all over your house.
It's been fine. It's been a day on the pumpkin supplement, if you will.
Okay.
And it's been working pretty good. They love the pumpkin.
Really?
Yeah, they fiend after it.
Wow, little basic bitches are ready for fall. That is so cute.
I know, right? So funny. So that's all. I found that so funny.
I love that. And we also breathalyzed an IBLO 0.039.
And IBLO 0.020. What does that mean, Cat?
It means I go first, but I only know that because Hayley had to tell me before we recorded.
I was about to say I'm proud of you. I'm
no,
not.
You shouldn't be proud of me.
Nothing
you should be
ever
ashamed.
changes.
I try so hard, and my efforts always go to waste.
It's like every time I tell you whatever you think, just do the opposite. You have it right, and then you do the opposite, and it's wrong again.
I've just accepted at this point that this is my greatest flaw. And I can't change.
That's it. That's the greatest flaw. Yeah. She can't tell decimals.
I'm perfect otherwise.
Oh, well,
all right.
In that case, I'm happy for you. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, like we said, this is our Oktoberfest episode. So we have Oktoberfest themed lesson topics, and Oktoberfest theme is interpreted very loosely to mean anything in Germany. So here we go. Tucked into the Bavarian Alps, along a sheer rock face, sits the fairy tale castle of Neuschwanstein.
Yes.
Have you been there?
Yes, I have.
Me too.
Is this a lesson on it?
Kind of.
Oh my God. We almost did the same lesson.
Oh
literally.
My God. That would have been so crazy. So you know everything. Did you read all about it?
I read some things about it.
Nice. Did you get to go inside when you went?
Yes. And I took pictures, which is illegal.
Ooh, bad girl.
So I can share my illegal pictures.
Germany's going to come arrest you.
Oh, spank me too.
Spank me, Daddy Germany.
Bring a pretzel.
When I went there, I went with like a school trip, and my fucking teacher fucked up and brought us there on the one day a week that it was closed.
Are you kidding me?
So
they didn't make any reservations?
I don't know what happened.
Jesus
but
Christ.
We just had to like walk around the outside of it, which is still really cool.
It is.
It's beautiful.
Breathtaking.
But I really wanted to go inside, and I never got to. Anyway, so this castle was built in the medieval style of German knights' castles, with the high pointed towers, and amongst the beautiful storybook landscape, it looks straight out of
Disney.
I freaking wrote, amongst the beautiful storybook landscape, it looks straight out of a storybook. So that's really good writing.
You know, I think it helps though. It really just doubles down. It's like when you marinate something, you know?
Yeah. You want to put in some extra spices, and in this case, it's extra storybook.
Yeah, it's not different spices. It's more of the same.
More same, but the same.
We need to make a meme where it's like someone doing spice and it's just storybook.
But I think I put it in there twice because it's an important part of this lesson, because this castle was literally built to look like a storybook castle. It looks medieval, but it is not. Construction began in 1868 and it was ready for occupation by the end of 1873. And though the castle was made to look old, it was fitted with the newest technologies of the time. It had hot air central heating. It had running water on every floor. The kitchen had both hot and cold water. And the toilets had an automatic flushing system.
Dang, I did not remember that.
Yeah, so it was modern. There was also an electronic bell for the king to summon servants throughout the castle, and the third and fourth floors had telephones.
When was electricity invented?
Apparently sometime before 1868.
Because to me, I'm thinking like 1890.
Yeah, they were doing it.
Am I dumb?
Maybe, but who cares?
That's not what you're supposed to say.
There was even a lift to carry meals up to the upper floors, so people didn't have to run up the stairs. It's great.
The phone was invented in 1876.
Okay, so that must have been added later.
Lies.
And what were their automatic toilets?
I don't think it flushed automatically, but I think they were basically like flush toilets. Like instead of
like
you having to take a bucket of water and dump it in to flush it, you could like flush the flush, I think.
Flush the flush.
Flush the flush. You know what I mean. The castle was the project of Bavarian King Ludwig II, sometimes called the Swan King, the Fairy Tale King, and the Mad King Ludwig. Ludwig was born in August of 1845, so he was a Virgo, and he was not close to his parents. By all accounts, they were pretty mean to him.
Yeah.
His dad was the king, and once was asked by one of his advisors if he wanted to take Ludwig with him on his daily evening walk, and he said, quote, "But what am I to say to him? After all, my son takes no interest in what other people tell him."
Sir, would you like to walk with your son? It's his 13th birthday. Who? No one likes him. So I don't like him either.
Yeah, he doesn't listen because he's 5. So this is kind of what their relationship was. And it seems like this is because Ludwig didn't fit the stereotype of what a future king at the time was supposed to be.
Which is what?
Well, he had absolutely zero interest in politics, leadership, or war. Like the 3 things you probably need to care about as a king.
Okay, no, I do care about those things. I was going to say relatable, but no, I care about politics a lot.
It's not really relatable, but that's not to say I would be a good king, because I relate more to Ludwig in his endeavors. So he was described as a dreamer. He was very introverted and quiet and sensitive. He loved fantasy, storybooks, dressing up in costumes, art, poetry, and especially opera. When he was a teenager, he had a best friend named Prince Paul, and this was the first of many very close male acquaintances that Ludwig would have in his life.
Ooh.
Him and Prince Paul liked to ride their horses together. They read poetry out loud to each other, and they acted out scenes from their favorite operas.
And kissed on the mouth.
Probably. In 1864, when Ludwig was 18, his father died suddenly due to an illness, so Ludwig was thrust onto the throne as a teenager.
He died due to death.
Yeah, it was a sudden illness. I know that he got sick and then died within 3 days. So,
oh my God.
COVID-19 question mark?
Dramatic?
Yeah,
much?
Right? Like, chill out.
God, get an antibiotic.
Duh. It was immediately clear that Ludwig had no interest in ruling the kingdom. He hated attending public functions or any formal social events and avoided them whenever he could. He just kind of kept his father's previous policies in place. He didn't really care enough to change anything. And the people actually loved him. They thought he was a great king. He was super popular, mostly because he was very attractive. And so he was just like kind of hot and young and didn't really do a whole lot. And the people liked that. He was kind of like a swanky little celebrity.
He's not rocking the boat.
No, he's just vibing. And Instead of doing anything political, his first move as king was to summon his favorite opera composer, Richard Wagner, to his court. Wagner was not a hugely successful composer at the time, but it was the new king's patronage that really propelled his career. So he was kind of like, deep tracks only, like this is my favorite composer, but the king supported him heavily and made his career for him essentially.
He's kind of handsome. Alec just put up a picture.
He's very handsome.
Sorry to take away, but
no, he really is. And these two men quickly developed a lasting friendship. Wagner wrote of the day he met Ludwig. He said, quote, "Today I was brought to him. He was unfortunately so beautiful and wise, soulful and lordly that I fear his life must fade away like a divine dream in this base world. You cannot imagine the magic of his regard. If he remains alive, it will be a great miracle."
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is just so much that he just said.
I know. And granted, Ludwig was giving him a lot of money and a lot of praise, but I think what Wagner says stands true is that Ludwig was very attractive and just kind of like had this mystical quality about him. He was very introspective and definitely a thinker, and surrounded himself with beauty. And I think it kind of like took some people off guard. And what Wagner was saying about him being like essentially too good for this world, like he's going to die an early death, ends up being prophetic.
Ooh. If somebody said all of those words that he said about Ludwig, I would check them into a mental hospital.
Why?
Because he sounds crazy. He's like, unfortunately, he's too beautiful.
He's an opera composer. He writes operas, so I think he was just like prone to being dramatic.
Being really artistic with it. Yeah, it just sounds like he's unwell to me.
Okay, that's an opinion.
Is that crazy? I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. Probably it means not PC.
Don't write Hayley any poems, or she's gonna have you committed to a hospital.
Yeah, I will. Everyone knows I don't like poetry unless it's a song.
Unless it's set to music. I don't like poetry unless it rhymes. It was Wagner's operas that in part would go on to inspire the construction of Ludwig's fairy tale castle. One more kingly duty that Ludwig had no interest in was producing an heir. In 1867, he became engaged to his cousin, Duchess Sophie.
Nice.
And Duchess Sophie was not only his cousin, but the sister of his best friend, Empress Elizabeth of Austria. So she was like, they were not like having an affair or anything. Like this was like one of his best friends. And then it was like, cool, like I get to marry your sister. And they seemed like a pretty good match because him and Duchess Sophie both loved Wagner. And Ludwig once wrote, quote, "The main substance of our relationship has always been Richard Wagner's remarkable and deeply moving destiny." So they were both kind of like fangirling for this guy, and that's what bonded them.
They're in it.
They're really
or
in it.
him together. They're two peas in Ludwig's pod.
Yeah, I don't know if she like pretended to like Wagner just to like get him to shut up. Like, oh yeah, he's great. Like, stop telling me about him, please. But it seems like she did like him, and they even had little nicknames for each other. He called her Elsa, and she called him Heinrich because these are characters from one of their favorite Wagner operas. And unfortunately, though, not long after they got together, Ludwig ended their engagement. He wrote, quote, "My beloved Elsa, your cruel father has torn us apart. Eternally yours, Heinrich." And
well, that seems cryptic.
For me, it seems like he's blaming her father, and he didn't really want to marry her, because I couldn't find a whole lot about this, but I highly doubt that her dad wouldn't want her to marry the king.
Yeah, he's like, "Dear Elsa, your dad looked at me wrong and he needs a haircut. XOXO gossip squirrel."
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know exactly what went down, but From other things, we learned that Ludwig probably didn't want to get married, or at least didn't want to marry a woman. He never ended up getting married. He never had any mistresses. And this makes sense because we know from his diaries and private letters that he was gay, or at least
so
bisexual.
Rude. That is so rude.
What's rude?
Reading someone's diary after they die. That's so rude.
That's true.
I will be so pissed. That makes me not want to have a diary, knowing that somebody could read it when I die.
That's why I don't have a diary. Literally, like, I have held on to diaries before because I couldn't bear the thought of putting them in the trash and someone maybe finding them and reading what I said.
Yes!
Like, it's so embarrassing.
And then if you burn it, you're like, well, this looks suspicious.
Yeah, and really dramatic. Like, I don't want to be that person burning my diary, but I'm gonna be that person because no one can know.
No one can know. Oh my God. I love those videos on TikTok where they read their diaries from when they were like 13.
Yeah.
That's what I need to do. I'll edit some out, but it is some funny shit in there.
I do need to find mine. I think it's somewhere at my mom's house.
Oh, big mistake.
Mom,
Katya.
this is the test. If you're listening, find me my diary and send it to me.
And the fucking dirndl.
And the dirndl. So being gay, what I read, it said he had homosexual desires. To me, that sounds like he was gay. And this is something that he really struggled with as a devout Catholic. Ludwig had a strong desire to be perfect and emulate the heroes of his favorite operas. And, being homosexual doesn't really fit in to that picture he had in his mind of what he wanted to be. Heroes were strong and brave and, of course, devoutly religious, which is what he was trying to do, is be religious. So Ludwig really wanted to fit this archetype, and one way to do this was to build a castle fit for a fairy tale prince. And he had plenty of time to do this because in 1866, Bavaria lost the 7 Weeks' War, and this forced them into an alliance with Prussia. And then there was the Franco-Prussian War, and then subsequently the unification of Germany in 1870. And because they were Prussian allies, they became unified under Prussia. And it was a whole thing. I'm not going to get into it. That's your summary.
Thank you.
But basically, Germany was now unified, and this kind of left kingdoms mostly obsolete because Germany used to be ruled it was not a country. It was ruled in separate kingdoms, and now they're a country, so now the kings kind of have nothing to do. Mm-hmm. Basically, overnight, Ludwig was effectively stripped of most of his power, greatly reducing his responsibilities.
I feel like that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, he fucking lucked out, and this left him all the time in the world to build his dream home.
Yes, I'm so jealous.
I know.
Honestly kind of pissed.
Right? Imagine you are forced into this shitty job by your dad dying, and you're like, God, this is not what I wanted to do.
2 traumas. You have to get a job and your dad dies.
It's honestly just so rude. But then they're like, oh, hey, you don't have to rule anymore, but you get to keep all your money and all your influence. Do you want to do it?
DIY your dream house.
Yeah. Just do whatever you want.
What do you mean, do I want to do it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is what I've lived for. Check my diary.
Yeah. He honestly, in this specific circumstance, had a dream life in this one moment in time. So Ludwig chose the site of Neuschwanstein for its epic scenery, saying, quote, "The location is one of the most beautiful to be found, holy and unapproachable, a worthy temple for the divine friend who has brought salvation and true blessings to the world."
Yeah, that's accurate.
Yeah, it's freaking gorgeous. So for the initial sketches, Ludwig hired theatrical set designer and scene painter Christian Jonk to make a dramatic drawing of the new Hohenschwangau, and that's what Ludwig was originally calling the castle. And these drawings and the castle itself were meant to be an idealized and dramatized version of real medieval castles, kind of larger than life. Mm-hmm. The castle was to have 200 rooms, a massive singer's hall for operas, and a knight's bath modeled after the ritual baths in the Holy Grail.
Dang.
And we find out that
Dramatic.
Ludwig kind of liked to cosplay and like dress up in medieval costumes and like go around his fancy castle.
Oh
which is
my
just so fun.
God. Yes. Okay. Okay, Ludwig.
The castle was not built completely from scratch. It had been the site of an older castle called Neuschwanstein that had been in ruins before Ludwig's father had it rebuilt in the Gothic style. And this had been the royal family's summer home. So Ludwig had spent a lot of his childhood there, especially in the summers. But those years clearly weren't the happiest. As he said about the castle he would build, quote, "This castle will be in every way more beautiful and habitable than Hohenschwangau further down," which is like another castle down the road where his mom lives, "which is desecrated every year by the prose of my mother. They will take revenge, the desecrated gods, and come live with us on the lofty heights, breathing the air of heaven."
Oh my God.
So he had mommy issues.
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
like, this time around, my childhood is going to be so much better.
So good.
My how old is he right now? Like 30s or so, 20s, 30s?
Like late 20s, I think.
My second childhood.
Yeah. I mean, recreate it if you want to.
Yeah, do what
Good
you want to
idea.
do. Be who you want to be.
Be your inner child.
RBIE.
And Ludwig's sentiment was right. The castle was epic. In the middle of the castle, there was a courtyard with a garden and an artificial cave. The throne room was decorated in the opulence of Byzantine style and had 15-meter high ceilings encircled with 2 levels of art galleries. Throughout the castle were grand paintings and frescoes that depict epic scenes from Wagner's operas, many of which were modeled on medieval German legends. One of Ludwig's favorite of these was the story of Lohengrin, which is a legendary knight from the Holy Grail who traveled in a boat pulled by swans.
Ooh.
And Ludwig really identified with this because the original castle was called Schwanstein, which means swan. So it was the swan castle, and the king who inhabited it would be the Swan King, and it was a whole thing. So Ludwig moved into the castle in 1873 before it was done being constructed. And during the time he spent in the castle, Ludwig became more and more reclusive. He spent his days sleeping and wandered the castle at night. I know, it's sad. He passed the time by hiring musicians and actors for private performances. That part's not so sad. That would be really fun.
That'd be cool. But also, I'd rather get them, instead of coming to me and doing like performing just for me, I'm not into that shit. I'd rather like get tickets or like put on a show somewhere else and have a bunch of people there.
You wouldn't want Britney Spears to come to your house and sing just for you.
I want her to come hang out. Like, she
Okay.
can sing if she wants to,
Yeah.
but no, I don't like that one-on-one eye contact
That is
singing.
a little awkward. Yeah, I could see that.
I don't need that. I don't like the serenade.
Yeah, and I don't think like he wasn't really into parties. I think was pretty shy, so
It worked for him.
preferred it that way. During the winters, he enjoyed it, and this is so fun. He enjoyed nighttime sleigh rides through the snow in his ornate custom sleigh, and
Bougie.
sometimes he even dressed up in medieval costumes for these rides.
Bougie.
That's my dream. Like, that sounds so fucking fun.
Oh my God. My anxiety just tells me like you'll be shivering when you crash your sleigh in the fucking Alps.
Oh my God. That's not what I'm thinking. I want to like live inside a Christmas song where I'm like eating roasted chestnuts.
I just see you
in a sleigh with like velvet blankets.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
That's
I can
so
see that.
fun.
I see you in like the set of Lover by Taylor Swift.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I can see it.
Okay, thanks. So let's see. Ludwig dumped funds into Neuschwanstein and also his 4 other custom palaces that he was building.
Jeez.
And he did use his own money. A lot of times it's rumored that he like used state money and that taxpayers funded this. That's not true. He used his own money, but he did borrow heavily. And his advisors urged him to slow down a little bit and stop spending so much, but he did not listen. He did not care. And by 1885, he found himself 14 million marks in debt.
Wow.
Yeah, so not good. And this obviously frustrated his family, who is still pretty much controlling Bavaria. And they're like, our king is putting us in essentially in all this debt. So they hatched a plan to depose him. And pretty much the only way to get rid of a king was to kill them or declare them mentally insane. This is what they tried to do. They declared him mentally ill, and his ministers approached Ludwig's uncle, Luitpold, and asked him to take over the throne. And Luitpold agreed as long as the ministers could prove without a doubt that Ludwig was mentally ill. He needed the receipts.
They're like, come on, we're going to stake out in these bushes. Just watch him in his costume.
Just come spend a couple days hanging out. You'll see. So, but Ludwig wasn't really insane. Like, yeah, he was eccentric, but like I don't think he was insane. I mean, he obviously wasn't a good king because he was just spending all this money and not doing anything. But
he's been enabled to do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's never been an issue.
Exactly. But they needed dirt on him. So a campaign of bribery and intimidation was launched on all people in the castle, meant to extract any gossip that could be used as evidence of the king's insanity. So people started ratting him out, and some of the things they were accusing the king of is as follows.
Oh, no.
Pathological shyness.
Guilty.
Yeah, same. Avoidance of state business, complex and expensive flights of fancy, dining outdoors in cold weather and wearing heavy coats in the summer, childish table manners, dispatching servants on lengthy and expensive voyages to research architectural details in foreign lands, and abusive and violent threats towards servants.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Not our Ludwig.
Not Ludwig. He would never. It's unclear how much of this is actually true, but in any case, the report was reviewed and signed off on by 4 psychiatrists who declared the king to be suffering from paranoia and no longer fit to rule.
Oh, my goodness. I would get, if I were him, if it was me, I would be disposed so quick. Like, if there was a campaign to prove me insane, they'd be like, oh,
they don't need a campaign.
God.
You're a woman.
Yeah, that's it.
Bye, bitch.
It'd be so easy.
After much resistance, King Ludwig was ultimately deposed and brought into royal custody.
Oh, no. At least, like, if you're going to depose of him, then he doesn't have to go to custody. Just like shut it down and put him in a quaint little...
the fear is that he had the support of the people, so he probably could have organized an army and taken everything back if he wanted to.
That's at least to people.
I know, but that's at least like the fear. Like, if you depose a king, you have to like keep him under lock and key.
Geez.
So he was brought to Berg Castle, which is just south of Munich, and essentially imprisoned there. Like, they put bars on his window. He was in prison there, but he was still royalty, so he had a lot of freedom just within the castle. Then on June 13th, 1886, Ludwig asked his doctor, Dr. Guden, to accompany him on an after-dinner stroll along the lake. And usually attendants would go with them on these walks, but this time Ludwig said, no attendants can come. I just want it to be me and him. And they were like, okay, no problem. So they left at 6:30 p.m. and they were supposed to be back by 8. Only they never returned. A search party was launched, and at 10:30 p.m., a fisherman named Jacob Little found the men's bodies.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Do you know this part?
Yeah, it's all coming back to me.
So they were found in shallow water, very shallow water, like right off the shore of the lake, floating upright with their heads and shoulders above water. And
Taking a little ice bath.
Just for funsies.
Relax the muscles. You get tightened up when you're just in the post.
And I saw this in every source. It said the king's watch was stopped at 6:54. And I was thinking about what that could mean. And maybe that means he was killed in the water at 6:54, like his watch got wet and stopped. I think that's why that detail is included. So not long after they started the walk. And the king's death was quickly declared a suicide by drowning. Although an autopsy showed there was no water in his lungs. So that's just like not true.
But you can drown without there being like water in your lungs.
I guess if you're holding your breath, but like that would take a massive amount of control to hold your breath and not breathe in water.
Complete suicide that way, yeah.
And according to the autopsy, no injuries were found on his body. However, the doctor did have injuries. He had a broken fingernail and scratches and bruises on his face. He was never given an autopsy, though. I think just because maybe he was like, nobody cared because he wasn't the king.
Oh my God.
But he was floating in the water, so we can assume that he also didn't die from drowning because that means that his lungs still had air in them. The official story from the government is that Ludwig went to the lake to die by suicide, and then Dr. Guden saw him doing this and tried to stop him, and that resulted in a struggle and all the defensive wounds on Dr. Guden. But like most people do not buy this story. No, it is most likely completely made up. After finding the bodies, Jacob Little was forced to take an oath that he would never speak of what happened that night.
Jacob. I mean, what other option does he have?
He doesn't have an option, but it's just suspicious. Like, if there was nothing to hide, why would he have to promise never to talk about it? It doesn't make sense.
That's a good point.
And years later, in 1960, an heir of Little's revealed that he'd inherited Jacob Little's diary. And the diary had some interesting things to say.
Diary.
Stop reading people's diaries. No, I'm glad they did in this case, because in the diary, Little wrote that night the king had wanted to escape. And the plan was for Little to wait for him at the lake with his boat, and then the king would get in and they'd paddle off to safety. But as the king was climbing into the boat, he was shot in his back.
What?
Yeah. Scared for his life, Little pushed the body out of the boat and
he's
fled.
like, ew.
Yeah, ew. Mop it up. So he's gone. And the diary reported that Little and the doctor were never engaged in a struggle, or maybe I meant to write Ludwig and the doctor were never engaged into the struggle according to Ludwig. Most likely he struggled with whoever shot Ludwig.
Yeah.
And one of the pieces of evidence for there being a struggle were footprints in the mud that looked like a struggle. But Little revealed that those had been planted the next morning.
What?
They had put a boot on a stick to like stomp prints into the mud on the bottom of the lake.
On the bottom of the lake.
Under the water.
Like they're walking into it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And this might seem like a crazy story. It's like, is this diary really authentic? Because this is kind of wild. But the diary was analyzed by a handwriting expert who found it to be authentic.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That makes me want to put some crazy stuff in my diary. Just like completely throw people off my trail. Just lie.
That would be so fun. And there wasn't just this diary. Other witnesses, actually a lot of them, also claimed that Ludwig was shot. One of these people was Prince Joseph Clemens von Wittelsbach.
Nice.
And this is Ludwig's nephew, and he once told a Bavarian tabloid that he knew his uncle had been shot. And this claim is also supported by Countess Wernbach Kaunitz, who claimed to have the coat of Ludwig that he was wearing at the time of his death. And she was known to show off this coat to people, and everyone who saw this coat said it had 2 bullet holes in the back.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
He's not going to wear a coat that has holes in it, so obviously it's post-mortem.
Yes, and also the holes had like burned edges. Like they were definitely bullet holes. It's unlikely we'll ever know with certainty exactly what happened to King Ludwig II. Much of the physical evidence, like the diary and the coat, has since been lost. But I think we can definitely are pretty safe to assume that he was murdered. Ludwig's greatest legacy is Neuschwanstein Castle. Unfortunately, the castle was never finished, but it does still stand today and welcomes 1.4 million people each year. And it's ironic because it makes Bavaria a ton of money, but Ludwig was killed because he spent all Bavaria's money on the castle.
He probably still owes them money.
Probably not. No, he definitely doesn't.
How many people per year?
1.4 million. He was only 14 million marks in debt in the 1800s. They've definitely made that back.
Hey, marks a million. It's all the same to me.
So Neuschwanstein, of course, is a very important fixture in Bavaria, and it's gained worldwide influence since the time it was built, serving as the one and only Walt Disney's inspiration for Sleeping Beauty's castle, which is the main one. It's the big one that welcomes guests at Disneyland, the castle. And that is my lesson on King Ludwig II and Schloss Neuschwanstein. Happy Oktoberfest.
I absolutely love that lesson.
Thank you.
Thank you for teaching it. I will share my illegal pictures of the inside with you guys.
Yes, I want to see them. My sources are a storybook setting the famous German fairy tale castle of Neuschwanstein by Wu Minggren on ancientorigins.com. The Strange History of Neuschwanstein Castle is No Disney Fairy Tale by Dave Roos on history.howstuffworks.com. Ludwig II of Bavaria's Wikipedia page, and The Death of King Ludwig II of Bavaria, Was It Murder on AnnaMarieAkerman.com. Thanks. And
Thank you.
Let's hear from our sponsor.
Hey guys. If you need something to pick you back up after that episode, do not fret because we have a whole backlog of episodes that you have not heard yet, unless you're already on Patreon.
Yes, so we used to record substitute episodes where we'd have someone come on and teach us a lesson. Oftentimes it was a comedian or another podcaster, and they just did a bang-up job. So if you want more content and more lessons, you can find that there. And we're recording new episodes. We're about to record a double feature of trivia.
And you guys know we're hosts for trivia now. Not only do we host it, but we participate in it. And I'd have to say, us participating in trivia is probably more entertaining than us ever hosting it will be, just because we're doing trivia on the episodes that we did a long time ago, like over 2 years ago.
A long time ago. Alex here to tell us what episodes we're covering in our next Patreon Night Classy Trivia.
Yes, so this month we are covering episodes 13, 14, and 15 of Night Classy, and then because we're doing a double feature, we're doing 16, 17, and 18. Do you guys want a little preview of what these topics are?
Yeah, tell us the topics.
Okay, these are sort of out of order, but we've got Mariana's Web Part 2.
Boo.
Classic.
Which,
Classic.
as we know, is the worst episode we've ever done. So tune in for that. Rando Nodding. Cat Domestication, and we're not talking about Cat the host.
I mean,
not yet anyway.
That was the Zoloft.
Teach that lesson. Am I right, guys? We've also got lab-grown diseases, why people have children, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, Proud Boys, Woman in the Attic, one of my favorite lessons, by the way, Concept of Time, Underground Seattle, Madeline McCann, and The Brothers Grimm.
We've done so many things.
So many things, and so many, what was I even going to say? I don't remember, but I just know I'm excited for these lessons. I know that Why People Have Children is one of the first Patreon picks that I did, and that lesson did not go how I thought it was going to. At least the research. It was a fun lesson and all of that. But yeah, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
Our first Patreon.
And so test your knowledge of how much you remember of Night Classy. And someday our dream is to have these trivias live and you guys play along and to offer prizes. But we don't have enough Patreons for that yet. So join Patreon, get us to that goal so we can make it even better for you.
because what you put into it is what you get out of it.
That's right. So go get the most out of it by going to patreon.com/nightclassy and supporting the show.
We appreciate you all. We'll see you over on Patreon. Welcome back, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
Am I your friend?
Not anymore, but everyone listening is. Okay. So friends and cat, welcome back. Today's German-themed learning journey begins in Spain. A bouncing baby boy named Juan Pujol García was born on Valentine's Day in 1912 in Barcelona. His father was socially liberal and his mother was a conservative Catholic, which all jumbled together to create Juan's rebellious personality. Since he was the third of 4 children, his parents took a load off and decided to send him to boarding school for several years as soon as he turned 7 years old. And that pretty much continued on until he was 16 years old. Juan got into a fight with a teacher and decided that he didn't need that kind of drama in his life anymore, so he dropped out. From there, he ended up taking a bunch of odd jobs, doing things like managing a movie theater, training in animal husbandry, and eventually completing his education as a poultry farmer.
When was this?
He was born in 1912.
Okay.
In 1931, Juan served his required 6 months in the Spanish military.
I was just about to say, it's hard to imagine anything worse than being a poultry farmer. Like, that sounds like a very stinky job.
Yeah.
And then you said he went into the Spanish military. That sounds worse.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely worse, I think. He had a miserable time. He hated riding horses and generally felt unsuited for a military career.
Aw.
Same. In 1936, the Spanish Civil War began, and Juan was managing his poultry farm at this point in time. So to cover the basics of the Spanish Civil War, particularly in Juan's point of view, for simplicity, there's 2 sides. The first side being the Spaniards. They supported nationalism and fascism in the Spanish government. And then you have the Republic, which were communist, and they wanted socialist change in the country. So 1936, all of that's going on. Juan's sister and his mother are arrested by the Republic under the suspicion that they're counter-revolutionaries. And in the eyes of the Republic, if you are not staunchly with them, you are against them and you can get fucked. So now Juan also has a target on his back, and all of their family members do as well. Shortly after that, the Republic came for Juan after arresting his sister and mother, and they tell him, they're like, you need to either declare that you're on our side or you can go to jail. Obviously, he did not want to join them after what they did to his mom and his sister, and he was thrown in jail. But do not fear, a group of revolutionaries breaks Juan out of jail. And they end up giving him a fake ID. The age on the fake ID is conveniently too old to be drafted in the war again. So he's like, okay, I don't have to be a soldier anymore. I don't have to hopefully go back to jail. He returns home to the farm after being in jail for a bit with his chickens, only to find that his land had been repossessed by the Republic, and they were using all of his belongings and the meat and the eggs and all of that to feed the people. And he's like, I hate socialism.
Yeah, I'd be pissed.
He was pissed.
Those are my chickens.
Those are my chickens. You could have used them, just ask. Pay me. Juan decides to join the Republic Army, which is also the people who possessed his farm. That's because he developed an elaborate plan to defect over to the fascist side and fight against the Republic from within the Republic.
Okay.
It wasn't good enough to just join the opposing side.
Yeah, why couldn't he just join that?
No, he needed the betrayal effect of it all.
Was he wanting to be a spy, or the way to get close to the fascists was be in the socialist military?
I don't think he had a plan at that point in time. But he made one very quickly. When he was in the Republic Army, he becomes a telegraph lineman. So he's not a straight up soldier, but he's laying the wire as they're at war so that messages can get to and fro. Okay. And during the very first battle he's a part of, the Battle of Ebro, he runs across enemy lines and he tells the enemies that he wants to join them. He's like, I want to be with you.
What did they say?
They're like, the nationalists are like, okay, yeah, come on, man, come on, let's do this.
We have snacks. We'll have some.
And then they beat the shit out of him.
Oh, that's what I thought they would do.
Yeah, they beat him into a bloody pulp, throw him in jail because they don't really believe it.
No, they don't trust him. Why would you trust him?
I don't know. They don't trust him.
No, they think he's spying on them.
They think he's spying and that he doesn't really want to be on their side, which he doesn't. But he also, like, he just doesn't want to be on their side either. So
yeah,
he only wants to be on the nationalist side because he doesn't like the Republic is really what it is. And in jail, Juan came to realize just how bad fascist ideology is.
Oh, weird. Weird, Juan. It's so strange.
He really had to come to non-fascism moment.
Did he not what? Okay.
You know, he's young.
Yeah.
He's young. What are you going to do?
I guess you have to become a fascist to learn about it. Does that?
you at the very least have to be in jail.
Imprisoned by them.
By them. So he realized how bad their ideology was and is. And he realized that what he truly hates the most is political extremism and people killing people over political beliefs.
Okay.
And throughout all of that, he had officially fought on two sides of a war without firing a single bullet, which is something he was really proud of. 2 years after the Spanish Civil War ended, Juan was released and returned to his family. During this time, he got married and had a child, started his own little life. Meanwhile, a group nearby called the National Socialist Party started making some waves. You might know them as the Nazis.
Oh, shit.
So recall, Juan hated nationalism and he hated socialism. And he's like, what the fuck? What are these Nazi people doing? Like, you created a nationalist socialist party when I specifically asked you not to? So at that moment.
But the Nazis weren't socialists. They were fascists.
Fascists. That's what I meant.
But they were called the Socialist
Yeah,
Party.
that's true.
It's all confusing.
It's all the same.
It's all the same. He hates it all, really, is what it is. So he knew what he wanted to do, and what he wanted to do was to become a British spy. So in 1940, America was not in the war yet. The war was pretty fresh, pretty new, and Juan was limited for his options as to whose side to be on. So it was like Britain was it. So he goes to the British embassy in Madrid, and he's like, hey, I want to be a spy for you guys. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
You can't.
They probably got 100 people a day doing that, going into the British embassy in Madrid and being like, can I join your side? Get me out of Spain right now.
Yeah. And they're like, that's not how this works at all. They ask him why he even wants to be a spy. He starts crying about his chickens and the farm. So one man can only take so much rejection. He goes to the embassy 3 separate times and even gets his wife to ask for him one time. And they reject him every single time. So Juan reasoned that if they wouldn't let him defeat Nazi Germany, then he would help Nazi Germany defeat themselves. So Juan, is that a what? Like your mind is blown, or you need?
Yeah,
me
what
to
does
actually...
that mean? He's going to help them defeat themselves.
He's going to destroy them from the inside.
He's going to go be a terrible Nazi.
Exactly.
Okay.
So Juan creates this false identity as a pro-Nazi politician in Spain. And I have no idea how he does this or communicates with them, but somehow he tells the Nazis that he is this pro-Nazi Spanish politician and that he's traveling to London for business, for diplomatic reasons. And he's like, I could do some work for you guys. To back up his story, Juan went to a registrar in Lisbon and he just told them that he worked for the embassy in Madrid. And they're like, okay, random stranger, we have no reason not to believe you. And they printed him a diplomatic passport with his fake identity.
Things were different back then.
Things were insane.
You could do whatever you wanted.
I don't know why I am not an heiress to a multi-million-dollar fortune.
Yeah, what was my family doing back then?
Literally, I don't know.
You could fudge your way
and
into whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
And they were just sitting around having a farm.
It's so rude of them. Yeah, I need to talk. I thank goodness I have Ancestry.com because I can go back and I know exactly who to fucking talk to.
Fucking blame. I know who to blame.
So he gets the diplomatic passport and he mails it to Germany as proof of his fake identity to solidify the plan. Germany fully believes the story. They send a Nazi spy to meet Juan and vet him out. Juan passes this Nazi test that the spy gave him, and he teaches Juan all of these lessons on how Germany hides their wires, how they get their information. They give him a bottle of invisible ink, a notebook full of German codes, and 600 pounds in money to completely finance Juan's trip to London.
I love that he was just freelancing being a British spy.
No one is paying him for this.
They told me no, so I'm just gonna start my own business, #boss babe, and now I'm an English spy.
He's trying to make his exes that aren't even exes so jealous. The Nationalist Party could have had him. The Republic could have had him. The Nazis now have him, but it's do you really want the Nazis to have you? I guess so, in his case. So he's with the Nazis now. And the goal was for Juan to get to London and make a network out of British agents who were actually secretly Nazi sympathizers and start infiltrating the British army that way. So instead, Juan goes to Lisbon, does not go to London. Instead, in Lisbon, he buys a bunch of British newspapers, books, and movies and watches them all the time. And he just role plays living in London. He writes a bunch of letters about living in London while he's in Lisbon, reading and watching movies about living in London.
That sounds fun. I want to pick a country and do that.
Me too. It's so much culture packed into one experience.
Yeah.
And he sends all of these letters to the Nazis and they buy it. He backed up the experience even further by looking into rental properties in London, reading memoirs. Nailed it. Memoirs about living in London and the social circles. And it wasn't always easy. For example, one time Juan didn't understand how British currency worked. The pounds and the 1/20th of pounds were super confusing for him.
1/20th of a pound? That is confusing.
It is confusing. I can't even act like I know what it's about.
No, that's unfair.
So, and they would expect him to tell them how much things cost so that they could reimburse him. And he would just dance around writing out exactly how much things cost. And he was like, you know what? At the end of the war, I'll tally it all up and I'll let you guys know how much you owe me. And the Nazis were like, yes, we love that for us. There's no way you're actually going to keep track of everything. And we just won't owe you anything. So he didn't have to tell them, he didn't have to keep receipts or anything like that. And that just made his life easier since he was living in Lisbon, pretending to live in London.
So they were just tell us what we owe you and we'll pay you. Just make up a number, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, yeah, just let us know. I think they were depending on him, not actually keeping track of.
But he doesn't have
expenses.
to keep track because they're not asking for any documentation.
Oh, they pay him. They were. They were.
Oh.
Because they're they gave him that 600 pounds to travel to London. And now he's their infiltrate spy.
Yeah.
Supposedly, they think, right? Mm-hmm. So they don't have to worry about that anymore, though. And Juan would just make up people And he would pretend to meet them in London. He would make up lies about why they supported Nazi Germany and what they're like and what they look like and the different methods he was using to radicalize people. It's like if what I'm picturing right now is that game of, what is it called? Who?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing. He's just making up a bunch of random identities.
Yeah, it sounds like a screenwriting exercise. Like, he's making up characters.
He was super into acting, clearly. And meanwhile, while he's doing all of these like letters, sending all of this information about these fake identities, Germany's making a spreadsheet of all these fake people with all of this made up information. So they're tracking it. And Juan is sending so much fake information to the Nazis that the British MI5, which is their counterintelligence during the war, picked up some of these messages and believed that there was an actual German spy in London, which there wasn't. He's in Lisbon, okay?
Yeah.
But it kicked off this huge manhunt in London for this German spy that isn't real and is not actually there.
Oh, no. So now he's kind of being a thorn in the side of Britain, too.
Yes, exactly. And he's in Spain, as I've said multiple times. I just want to make that super clear. He's in Spain. He's never been to London.
He's just watching Harry Potter on a loop.
The ruse continued for a year. A whole year. Germany thought they had a super spy in London. He's recruiting like crazy. The British were just trying to track down a non-existent spy that was actually hundreds of miles away. But eventually, the U.S. wants their piece of the World War II pie. So they enter the war and they get involved and arrive in Spain. So now Juan is like, I have another opportunity to actually join the war efforts. He goes to the American outpost, tells him that he's been a spy for the Germans for over a year now, and shows them all of the information that he made up, and also tells them that, like, I got the Germans to chase their tail. So he shows them what he did and is completely honest about that.
And they're like, you embody the American dream. You're
like,
hired.
Lie.
Yeah. Boss, babe, come fight with us.
They love it.
I'm sure they did.
They see how much the Nazis trust Juan. They're like, okay, you can sit with us.
Yeah.
The Americans not only take him under their wing, but they vouch for Juan with the Brits. And he's immediately accepted into their MI6 spy program. Like, no training to be a spy, no actual experience. Like, he's just been watching movies and reading books this whole time.
James Bond is an MI6.
Yeah. So he's in it. He's with James Bond right now. And in April 1942, Juan and his family officially moved to London for the first time ever. And he does eventually become a double agent. When he moves there, he gets the codename Garbo after Greta Garbo, one of the greatest actors of the time, since he was so skilled at acting and faking people out. So Juan and his team of actual spies in London wrote 315 letters to the Nazis, and they continue this lie that Juan had been creating in the previous year. These letters also include those from his pretend network as well. And Germany is so convinced they quit recruiting new spies.
We're done.
There's no point.
Yeah. We have the perfect spy. What more could you need?
And he's creating a perfect network.
It's like once you have 3 children, you're like, I don't need to have any more.
That's
I have the perfect number.
They'll just multiply on their own from now. My bloodline is secured. So Juan maintained his good standings with the Germans by giving them different types of information. So he gave them fake information, he gave them unimportant information that was true, or really important true information that was late. For example, Juan sent the Germans a perfect 1-to-1 scale of what life was like in London when the trains ran, when the boats came in. the information didn't matter, but it made him look reputable. The fake information was just like slight falsifications. And when that happened and he got called out for it, he would just blame the fake spies underneath him. He'd be like, oh,
the pyramid scheme of spies.
And he's raking it in.
Yeah.
Before this Operation Torch in Africa, for example, Britain had a fleet of warships that left from Britain and attacked along the coast of Africa and fought the Germans. Juan wrote a letter saying that he saw with his own eyes a bunch of British warships that were painted in Mediterranean camo leave the port in Britain. But what he did was he dated the letter a few days before the battle began, and then he held on to the letter for a week after the battle happened. So when the Nazis got the letter, they were like, we barely missed it.
But thank you, Juan, for sending it. There's the thought that counts.
Literally, they wrote a letter back to Juan basically saying, we are so sorry we received your letter too late, but the information in your reports are magnificent. Like, please keep doing what you're doing.
Fucking idiots.
I love it so much. It's like, this for me is the best case scenario to do like a Nazi Germany involvement at all in a lesson.
Yeah. Just clown on them.
Yes. Eventually, the Germans decided that the information coming from Juan/Garbo was far too superior to just trust the mail service to deliver it.
They got him an owl.
Almost.
For his time at Hogwarts.
Yeah. They give him his own code machine and radio operation system. At the time, they think he's living in secret in London, so they set up this whole ruse to deliver it secretly through the canals. And it's so clearly not a secret. Like, it's delivered straight to the British headquarters. It's not secret at all. They set up this Nazi code machine and operation system right in the headquarters of the office. And it just makes it really easy for them to break codes and things from the German communications. They even make up an alias.
Good job, Hayley. 2
Thank
for 2.
They make up an alias for a fake radio operator, which Juan also plays. So he's the operator, he's the spy, he's all the other spies on the pyramid with some help from actual spies. And
I hope his name was Ronald Queso from the last lesson as the disc jockey. It's me, Ronald Queso.
It's the perfect name.
Yeah.
This means that he can no longer rely on letters being late. So he had to make up new lies as to why the Nazis weren't being warned by, this phenomenal undercover spy system in London. For example, there was a battle where a fleet of ships left Liverpool and attacked the Germans. And a German commander pointed out that one of Garbo's spies literally lives in Liverpool. Like, he should have known about that. They should have known about it. It just seemed fishy. So Garbo's like, okay, I've got this. He fabricates a story about how the spy got sick and went into the hospital. Pretty it's all right for a lie. This went on for weeks, though. Juan told the Nazis that the spy died, and then he got the British government to make an obituary and publish it in the newspaper for this fake spy.
What did the obituary say?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's a great question. But nonetheless, they publish it in the newspaper. It's everywhere, and Juan sends the Nazis a copy, and the Germans send condolences and this huge pension to the fake widow.
Yes.
Yes. Spend his money. Germany at this point is really tripling down on the safety and protection of Special Agent Garbo, aka Juan. They send him their latest Enigma machine, and the latest, it just breaks all the codes and systems. So anytime the Brits or the Americans, anyone on the Allies had anything that had a code that needed to be broken, all they had to do was just go to the Brits and ask Garbo to break it. It was very easy. Now, in 1944, Germany told Garbo that they were afraid that an Ally invasion was going to happen soon. They kind of felt like something was going on. This operation later became known as Operation Overlord, which was the assault that D-Day is from. Garbo becomes a part of something called Operation Fortitude, which existed solely to keep D-Day a secret. So from January 1944 to June 6th, 1944, which is D-Day, Garbo transmitted 500 messages to the German radio operator, just keeping them fucking busy. And the Allies wanted the Germans to think that they were coming in at the Strait of Dover when they were actually coming in at Omaha Beach. So Garbo would tell half-truths to the Germans to keep some credibility, some believability in there. For example, he would say, like, it'll be the Americans pushing a lot of this forward. It'll be somewhere along the North Shore of France, just enough to keep the Germans strung along. Now, on the eve of D-Day, the plan was for Garbo to talk to the Nazis and give them imperfect details about what was to come, stating that he had a sub-spy that knew everything and that he would relay the information very soon. So they do that. They relay this information at 3 a.m., and the Germans never responded. They didn't actually get to respond, of course, until D-Day took place and was over. The Germans are like, oh my God, we're so sorry we missed your call. The craziest shit just happened. And once D-Day was over, Garbo started giving Germans perfect information. And he even got really riled up and pissed off because he's like, you guys are not taking this war seriously. And he's like screaming at them over these transmissions. As far as the Germans were concerned.
Just for fun.
Like, I'm busting my ass over here.
Yes. He's so fake mad at them. And as far as they're concerned, Garbo had always been giving them good information, and he's treated now like this high-ranking general for the Nazis. 3 days after D-Day, Garbo told them about an Ally diversion plan. It was an extremely narrow beach that they had to enter, and one of the only and best shots for the Allied forces to enter Europe. So it really took months for enough troops to gather on the beach to be able to push into France. So it just meant that Germany had to be distracted for long enough that the Allies could actually assemble. The diversion plan was set up largely by Garbo and American General Patton. Patton was stationed on the south banks of England with about 150,000 soldiers, tanks, and airplanes, just the whole spread. Everything that they would need for an invasion even larger than the one in Normandy. But that was a lie. It was actually just Patton with 20 guys and a ton of inflatable tanks and inflatable airplanes that were created by an American magician so that if a German plane flew over, it looked real.
It's like bounce houses.
It's literally bounce houses.
Like war-themed bounce houses.
They need to like put sandbags down inside of them to keep them down.
Oh my God.
What Garbo did was tell the Germans that he wasn't sure what was happening, but General Patton and a bunch of these men were still on the banks of England, and there would probably be another invasion. That message got sent straight to Adolf Hitler. Hitler is like, y'all got to take care of this now. And he sends one of the best German generals of the war, Erwin Rommel, to the opposite shore to take care of this fake gathering of people.
Imagine being on the team that comes up with the idea. They're like, let's just make balloons that look like tanks.
I would be
and
having
trick them. How fucking fun. Like, what? Now I want to be a soldier.
I would not think it would work, though.
It sounds like such a stupid idea.
But sometimes the stupidest ideas work.
Yeah.
It's anytime if I ever have to get another job and they're like, you don't have experience. I'm like, listen, you don't need experience. Have you ever heard of Juan Pujol García?
You really don't. Fake it till you make it.
And that is what he did. Garbo would keep them on the line, saying that it would be any day now. They're going to invade. Just sit tight. They're on the other side. Just sit tight. The Nazis stayed on that beach far, far from Normandy, where they actually should have been. They stayed on the beach for 2 months, waiting for these men to invade. So that just allowed...
And nobody got a closer look and saw that it was balloons.
No one got a closer look. And get this, Rommel, the best German general, he called bullshit, but they didn't allow him to guide the troops out. He had a feeling. He had an inkling that they were up to no good and that it was balloons.
Oh my God.
But did not work. In July 1944, Adolf Hitler gave Garbo the Iron Cross, which is the highest possible award you can earn in the German military. They gave it to him over the radio and told him that the information he had been feeding them was single-handedly going to save the war in Germany's favor.
But he hasn't given them anything. And not anything useful.
He thinks they have. He's just twisted it. I have no idea how. I would be having a panic attack every day if I were Garbo.
I would love it.
You would. You would be good at it.
It would feel good to have that power.
It really
over
would.
Someone I hate.
And I'm like, how have I never heard of this man before?
It sounds fake.
It needs to be a movie. It is real.
That's crazy.
That would be such a funny movie.
Yeah, it would. Like kind of Inglourious Bastard style, like dark comedy.
Exactly.
Like action movie.
Look up a picture of him. Whatever you're doing right now, look up a picture of him. He is so cute too. Like,
oh my God,
the cutest man I think I've ever seen.
I need to see him. I'm excited.
Near the end of the war, Germany started launching. I'm going to give you a minute to look at him.
He's not that cute.
I'd look at his little smile. I think he's cute.
He's a little cute, but you really got me excited and I feel let down.
Yeah, he sort of looks like Vladimir Putin.
Well, he is not that cute. He has a terrible hairline. He looks like an egg.
I think he's cute as hell. His smile with the hat.
Yeah, he does look very sweet there.
I like it. He has like a little like shy smile.
Yeah,
that's fun.
He's like,
I
don't know what's going on.
I'm a Nazi. Wink. It's like impish.
Near the end of the war, Germany started launching these rockets, V-1 rockets, into Britain. And they're like, Garbo, can you please report about how our rockets are doing? And if they're doing well, give us more targets. And Garbo's like, I don't want to tell you either way because I don't want you to think that you're doing good with rockets and keep doing it, but I don't want you to think that you're doing bad with the rockets and keep doing it.
Can't he tell them like, oh yeah, shoot it here and it's just an empty field?
I guess he could, but he didn't want to do anything.
Okay.
So they made up this story that Garbo had been arrested and wasn't allowed back in London. He spends the remainder of the war pretending to send them messages while traveling all around Britain. By the end of the war, the Nazis had given Garbo the equivalent of $340,000 for his spy work and his...
Like in today's money?
In today's money.
Not a fair trade.
It's really stressful, right?
That's not enough for their best spy.
I don't know. Maybe it's what they had. He also got the Iron Cross.
They had plenty.
Yeah, but
if you need another reason to hate the Nazis, they underpay him.
He's not the most underpaid, though. I will say that. He also received the quote, most excellent order of the British Empire, which is the highest award you can get from the British military.
Okay, and how much did the British pay him?
I don't know. He should have freaking melted it down and just took it for what it was worth. The Nazi Party, though, never discovered that Garbo was a spy before disbanding, so they never revoked the Iron Cross, making him most likely the only person ever to receive the highest level of merit from both sides of a war.
Dang.
Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine how good you would feel to frame both those awards over your fireplace.
I would
just
not want
hang
the
'em up.
Iron Cross over
But it's
my
like
fireplace.
funny because you did it like ironically.
You just have to like put a little smirk on there. And
Yeah.
cross, like
Just like draw a little winky face under the plaque.
that would make it fine.
Yeah.
I can see that. That would work.
Put the tongue out emoji on it.
After the war, Juan got worried about the Nazis finding him and killing him. So he faked his death and moved to Venezuela in 1949, which I'm also like, there are so many Nazis there. Like literally so many. But I guess he didn't think about that. It turned out to be a non-issue.
I mean, he could have friends on both sides, just like, you're at your golf club.
Oh my
and you already know
God.
how to fit in.
It depends on if he wants to continue this lie. It seems like he really liked it.
I think he
though.
likes it.
I think he liked it a lot.
I think he would really enjoy being like the spy of the golf club and like hanging out with his normal friends and then like telling them all the Nazi gossip that he learned from his fake friends.
He would be such a valuable friend.
Yeah.
He's a narc in the best way.
Yeah. So good.
He opened a bookstore. He ran a gift shop and his bookstore, one and the same, lived happily ever after with his wife and child.
What's
and
his wife's name?
His wife's name is Arisela or something like that.
Were they married during the time he was spying?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. She helped him a bunch.
Awesome.
This story was just so long, too, that I was like,
understand.
forget the wife.
There's no wife.
There's no wife. There's no child. We may not be hearing or know about the story today if it were not for this British politician who heard about Juan and really wanted to find him in the 70s. He launched this entire manhunt, got a phone book from Spain, called everyone on the list who was listed under J. Garcia, eventually gets in contact with Juan's nephew, and his nephew tells him where he lives. So he gets in contact with Juan, convinces him to come back to Britain for a little bit. Juan gets to meet Prince Philip at the castle. He pays respect to soldiers in their graves. And then he went back home to Venezuela and died peacefully with his family.
Wow. What
And
a tale.
That is the learning journey of Juan Pujol Garcia, who helped the Allies win World War II.
That was so good. That's
you.
in my top 10 of your lessons, I think.
Oh,
that was really good.
Yeah, that was
thank you so
excellent.
much.
Yeah.
I want to see like Nathan Fielder cast as him.
Yes. Oh my God.
He'd be good at it.
He would
He'd
be
really
so
good at it.
good. Nathan Fielder, like, I'm waiting for the day he gets recruited by the military to be a spy because he's
Yeah.
so good at keeping a straight face and lying.
Yeah, there are some people where it's like, I know that you're lying and I hate you for it, but there's some people where I'm like, I know you're lying and I'm impressed.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to tip your hat to the liars.
Yeah, freaking
It's
liars. My sources are the Wikipedia page for Juan Pujol Garcia, the spy who hilariously won World War II. I forget the YouTuber. I will circle back to that. How Juan Pujol Garcia, aka Garbo, made the D-Day invasion happen by warfarenetwork.com, and Codename Garbo, the greatest deception of World War II by Biographics, and the YouTuber for the previously mentioned citation is Wendigoon on YouTube. That's all, folks.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a fun little trip to Germany.
Yes. I hope you're all drinking beer out of your steins.
Cheers.
Remember
bitches.
last year we went so hard and brought steins to the office and put beer in them and then took pictures in our dirndls?
I think that was the first year.
Probably.
I don't think
That sounds
we
like
even went
first
that
year
hard.
shit. Yeah.
First year we went super hard. Last year we did wear our dirndls,
Mhm.
and now this year,
This
look
year
at
we
us.
forgot. Well, I
Look at
forgot.
you.
I lost my dirndl.
You
But-
gave it away.
I don't know that for sure. I couldn't
do.
find it. I couldn't find it.
I know.
I think I looked at it and said, this looks uncomfortable, and I don't imagine myself ever putting this back on my body.
And it's so like the whites of it, it's so washed out. It's not.
Yeah,
the fabric is
yours
not
looks
white
a little
anymore.
gray.
Look at this tear, like right on the boob.
It's not good
worn.
quality.
No. Is it time to retire it?
I think it might be time to retire it. I have reached a certain point in my life where I'm just not going to put on anything
I don't need this.
cheap that feels bad on my skin.
Would have been fun, but you hate fun. So.
I just need to buy like a comfortable, expensive dirndl.
I have one.
Oh.
You've been saying that for a year.
I know.
And you've been saying you'll get your mom to send it.
Because it's a treasure. Like it's like an authentic handmade one that's expensive and from Germany, and I don't want to take it personally because I'll fucking lose it. I want my mom to hang on to it for me. Exactly. I lost my I can't even be trusted. I can't even be trusted with a Party City dirndl. I can't be trusted with a real one.
You can't be trusted with it because it's a Party City dirndl. I would hope that you would take care and respect for the real one.
I can't make promises like that.
When else would it be used other than the Oktoberfest episode annually of Night Classy?
It wouldn't, but it's a treasure that I'm going to keep. Like my prom dress. I don't need to have my prom dress at my apartment because I'll fucking lose it, but my mom's going to take care of it at her house.
That's fair. I never want my prom dress to be in my custody. I'll never wear it.
You guys
again.
keep those?
Yeah. They're fucking expensive. And I loved the best thing is when you're like old enough and tall enough and big enough to put on your mom's prom dress. Mm-hmm. And if I ever have a daughter someday, I want her to be able to put on my prom dress just for funsies.
The best.
It's so fun.
I got to wear one of my mom's prom dresses from the 80s to this party that my friend had in high school that was like glam 80s themed.
That was so fun.
The best.
My mom had several gorgeous dresses that I didn't know about until I'd already bought my prom dress, but I have pictures in some of them and I kind of wish I would have worn them to prom. But my prom dress was cool too. And then that'll be a new one to pass down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, all right.
Anyway.
That's it. That's all, folks. You guys know what to freaking do. And if you haven't rated and reviewed and subscribed to us already, then I'm mad at you and go do it now.
Consider yourself a Party City dirndl.
Yeah. Go be a real dirndl and leave us a kind review.
But seriously, please, it helps us a lot.
Yeah, more than you know.
That's getting very German here at the end. Commanding.
Yeah. Leave us a review. Tell your friends about us.
Spread the word.
Spread the word. And give us money. You can go to patreon.com/nightclassy and support the show yourself. We just spent all our money on these microphones. We need more in the bank. So
pick your own lesson.
Yeah.
And those are my favorite lessons to cover is once topics chosen by
me too.
you all.
Because I hate picking topics. It's freaking overwhelming. I just I want it to be perfect every time and I stress out.
You guys to do the work. And we really appreciate it too. I think you guys would actually like being on Patreon other than just getting to pick a topic.
No, but also my favorite lessons are Patreon lessons. Because you guys it's so fun to do something that someone wants to hear.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
thank you guys.
We love you.
Thank you. And 3, 2, 1. Class dismissed.